Coming to paperback and e-readers this April, Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door must take on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Revenge of the Cyber Goddess in paperback and e-readers this April. Over the weekend, I had a chance to take a look at Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League. And after watching Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League, I'd have to say that he is the Cecil B. DeMille of superhero movies, because in Zack Snyder's Justice League, he presents a very epic film, and he presents a film that really, again, takes the whole superhero genre and makes it into something big and grand, similar to what Cecil B. DeMille did in films like 1956's The Ten Commandments. And like 1956's The Ten Commandments, your Zack Snyder adapts the material of DC's New 52, but also puts his own fingerprints on that version of Justice League. And I'd have to say that if you never watched a DC Extended Universe film, you would not have to watch any other DC Extended Universe films like your Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice or Man of Steel to get into this film. And if you're a comic fan, you're also going to really enjoy this film. So this film is one that is very accessible to viewers of all ages, and it's a film that is accessible without having to watch previous films like the build-up to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So this film is one that is well done as related to being an entry point for a new viewer, because the way the film is presented makes it where you don't have to watch 3 or 4 other films in order to find out what's going on in this film. Now, this film starts out with an introduction to each of the characters, and I like the way Zack Snyder introduced each of these characters as he built up his story. Now, in the beginning, we see Bruce Wayne going to this Icelandic village to talk to Arthur Curry, also known as the Aquaman, and trying to recruit him to join the team because he's heard about this threat coming to Apocalypse. And unlike the Joss Whedon version where we get told what's going to happen, Zack Snyder shows us what's going to happen. And that's what resonates to the viewer in the early sequences of the film. Now, in this opening sequence, we get a vignette that introduces us to Bruce Wayne, introduces us to Arthur Curry, the Aquaman, and several other sequences that introduce us to Diana Prince and introduces us to Barry Allen and Victor Stone. In each of these sequences, they do a great job of humanizing the superhuman characters, introducing us to each of these characters and the big threat, which is the main conflict, and also introducing us to each of these characters and their internal conflicts, again, giving us some multidimensionality, because what happens in this film is we get to know the people fighting this cause, and we also get to know something about their personal lives that makes us care not only about them fighting this big intergalactic threat of Darkseid, but makes us care about their personal lives. So I really liked seeing the aspect as related to showing us that these people weren't just superhuman, they were human. And that's something that I believe is something that is sorely missing from later MCU films. I mean, it was there in Iron Man and Captain America, the First Avenger, but it hasn't been there for a couple of years, I say since Civil War. And I miss that aspect of humanization as related to the MCU, and I really would like to see it come back there. But in Zack Snyder's Justice League, we get that humanization, and that really makes us connect with each of these characters and makes us care about each of these characters as they form this team and they go to take on this menace. Now, as this film progresses, Zack Snyder does a great job of not wasting a lot of scenes in this film. I mean, some people have issues with the slow aspects, but what he's trying to do is something similar to what they did in the old $6 Million Man show, trying to show you that this character is moving so fast that we have to slow things down so you can see what they're actually doing. So I like that aspect as related to the visual effects, but I also like how they put a lot of things that were true to the comics in this film. Now, this story's plot, which a lot of people see talking about mother boxes, is actually taken from two classic Justice League stories regarding something called Apelix meteors. Now, these are pre-crisis concepts where the Justice League had formed as related to these Apelix meteors, which released these creatures which were going to try to destroy the Earth, and the team had to come together to take on these creatures, and this was featured in Justice League, I think, number 1 or so, and it was also featured in Justice League number 200, which was penciled by the legendary George Perez and many other legendary comic artists. So I could see how Zack Snyder was adapting the Apelix Meteor storyline, all while using these new 52 characters and this new 52 version of your Steppenwolf to try to go out here and try to get these mother boxes. Now, the Steppenwolf character, as I see it, he really was one of the weak spots of the film, because the person who should have been front and center was Darkseid, because we only get one chance to make a first impression on the viewer, and you only get one shot at making a film this epic. And one of the weak spots of this film was the villain, Steppenwolf, who wanted to get these mother boxes in order to get redemption to get back favor with Darkseid. But that was a weak aspect of the plot as I saw it, because again, when you have a film this big, this epic, and this grand, you really want to have a compelling villain, and you want to have a villain who is considered to be a major threat, to the point where these heroes have to come together to take him on. Now, your Steppenwolf, he is a serviceable bad guy in this story, but I think we really needed Darkseid to be there for this film to really have that impact. I believe if Darkseid was the one who wanted to get the mother boxes to get to the anti-life equation, that would be the story that would have practically put Warner Brothers on the map. But because your Warner Brothers hesitated, this is what leads to the film, while it's big and epic and grand, never really resonating and having that cultural impact it could have had. Now, everything in the film, again, is big and grand. The scenes where he takes on the Amazons and the scenes where he takes on the Atlanteans, these scenes are, again, big and grand, and they show us the threat of Steppenwolf. But this threat really, again, is neutered because you have a villain who is looking to pander to another villain instead of taking the lead in and of himself. So this is one of the weak points of the Justice League movie, and it's the thing that keeps this epic movie from becoming, as I see it, the classic it could have been. And this film really, again, needed that big villain to be that dangerous threat. And we got a little hint of that dangerous threat with a foreshadowing sequence that after Diana goes to the Parthenon or wherever it is and sees all of those Greek hieroglyphs, and those Greek hieroglyphs show us the threat of Darkseid. So this is a great scene as I see it, because it foreshadows, not foreshadows, but it takes us into the past and shows us that there were heroes in the past that came together, the Atlanteans, the Greek gods, the Amazons, and even a Green Lantern, and showed us how all of these people came together to take on Darkseid in the past, and how this is why we have the mother boxes here on Earth right now. And I liked seeing that scene, even though I disagree with the whole concept of superheroes as gods. I do not like that whole aspect, because I really like the whole idea of superheroes being humans who want to help out and protect the innocent. But this is an aspect they were trying to say, that all of these beings came together and they were basically like a early superhero team. And I wish they had taken that time period to, to do something with the golden age of heroes. But I guess they were trying to say that there were heroes before there were superheroes with that sequence. And it was, again, a very well done, well crafted sequence. And it really showed, again, why this team needed to come together. And it showed why this team is considered to be something big and important. So it was a very well done sequence as related to this whole Zeus and Ares and Atlanteans and Green Lantern at the time. All a great sequence, and it takes us to show what is happening here is significant to history. And I like seeing that scene, and I also like seeing the scenes with Barry Allen, who is just a guy trying to do right by his family. So they did a lot of great sequences there. And I also like what I saw with Cyborg. Now, Cyborg is a key character to this story, not the token character that was presented in Joss Whedon's Justice League. He is a core and essential character to the story in this movie. And I really liked seeing the whole characterization of Cyborg here in this film. I like seeing the relationship between Victor and his father. Some of it really felt like it was coming straight out of old New Teen Titans comics, like Tales of the Teen Titans #1. I mean, I practically felt that tension between Ray Fisher's Cyborg and Joe Morton's Celia Stone. I mean, Joe Morton puts on, as I see it, a signature performance here. And Ray Fisher, this could have been his signature role had they released this film to theaters. The performance Ray Fisher puts on in this film is one of the best performances in this film. I mean, I look at his performance and it's just an absolutely fantastic performance. The only other performances that were just as good, as I see it, was Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman and your Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons' Batman and Alfred. I really loved their chemistry together. I mean, the acting in this film is just, it's absolutely fantastic acting, and it just was so well done. But I loved the interactions between Ray Fisher's Cyborg and his father. I mean, we don't really get positive presentations of black men in these films, and Zack Snyder does something that many in the MCU never were able to do: give us a full, rich, multi-dimensional presentation of a black man on screen and show us a positive relationship between a black man and his father. And I think that's one of the reasons why they wanted to recut this film, is because they did not want people to see a positive presentation of a black man and his father on screen. That's one of the reasons I believe they wanted to recut this film into that abomination known as the Joss Whedon version, because many people would probably look at this whole film and see how essential Cyborg was to the film, and see how important this character was and how essential this character was. And that's something they didn't want us to see: a black man in a role of power, and a black man using power to save the world. The whole idea of a black man having that kind of power, I believe that made a lot of people at Warner Brothers uncomfortable, because this was even before the success of Black Panther. So they didn't like the idea of building into this momentum of black characters having this type of power. I mean, Cyborg was basically, after getting transformed by the Mother Box, he was basically having the power of a technological god, similar to something I wrote in Isis, Wrath, and Revenge of the Cyber Goddess, those two books. And that was something I believe that scared many of the people at Warner Brothers. The whole idea of a black man being presented having this kind of power on screen. And they thought this would probably inspire a lot of these young brothers and sisters to want to go into things like STEM and tech. So I believe that's one of the things that scared a lot of people at Warner Brothers and led to them wanting to recut this movie. Now, but in the Snyder Cut, we get to see the Cyborg character really taken to another level, and we really get to see Ray Fisher get a chance to really show his range as an actor. And I feel that Ray Fisher, now he's been vindicated by this Snyder Cut release, because everything he said about the way he was treated on this film was egregious in the reshoots, because they really gave him a really full, well-developed character. And these people, I believe, are partially racist, because you're going to leave all of this rich character development on the cutting room floor initially with the reshoots and the recuts. You're going to leave all this rich character development showing us this humanized black man on screen. And you're going to do this because some people didn't like the film. I mean, that really, again, shows that there was something going on here as related to this film behind the scenes. And the Snyder Cut, again, further develops all of these characters and really brings everybody together. And the film really comes to build into a powerful climax that will have you on the edge of your seat. I mean, even the whole Superman sequence was well done, and it showed again that you're super. But the whole thing is, the other core characters get more development than Superman. That's another flaw with the film, but Superman is essential to the Justice League, and they show us how essential he is as Earth's most powerful hero. So we really get some really good development there with Superman. We get some with his return to life, which I kind of thought was kind of off because with the mother boxes, because Superman is a solar powered hero. But that's something they decided to just put in the story for adaptation. But everything here is pretty well done, and it's just well organically put together as a film. So I really liked a lot of aspects as related to this Justice League movie. I mean, it really captures a lot of spirit of these New 52 comics. I'm not a fan of those comics, but it captures a lot of spirit of them. It captures a lot of it has a heart. I'll say this, the Justice League movie does have a heart. It's not the heart of DC Comics classic characters, but it has a heart all its own. It has a soul all its own. I'll say Zack Snyder's film does have a soul, something that Infinity War lacked, something that I say Captain America Civil War lacked, and something that many of Marvel's movies lacked. This film did have a heart, because we saw people on screen, and we saw people who had lives and were not only fighting to save the world, but fighting to build and maintain their lives and take things to the next level. Now, there were some things I didn't like about this film, and one of the things I didn't like was the whole time travel stuff that they were trying to slip in here, and it was just unnecessary. This film, as I see it, should have remained a straight line, and it should have just been good guys taking on bad guys and bad guys getting beat. That would have been enough right there. And another issue I had with the film was, I believe it went a little too long. I believe once the heroes defeated the bad guys, the movie should have ended. But your Zack Snyder cut, as I see it, went too long with two different sequences. One was announcing the escape of Lex Luthor in an effort to build a Justice League sequel, and another sequence was Batman's nightmare, which really I feel was a scene that should have never even been shot in the first place, because it adds nothing of value to the movie. Now, I know they want to talk about time travel and alternate universes, but that stuff is unnecessary. You just want to stay focused on a single straight line story. And if you wanted to build into a sequel, you could have easily done that sequence where John Jones came in to meet Bruce Wayne, where he just wakes up, no nightmare, and your John is standing there, and that would have been enough. I mean, I like that whole sequence with John as related to Lois Lane, because he knew that Lois was Superman's heart, and that also captured an aspect of the series, because John Jones is the heart of the Justice League. And even though Zack's hands were tied as related to the New 52, he managed to find a way to bring the heart of the Justice League to the movie. And I liked seeing that part where he did with Jean, putting him in the movie, because you can't have a Justice League movie without the Martian Manhunter, and thankfully he did manage to fit him in. I also like seeing Ryan Choi being set up for a sequel. I mean, you had a lot of elements here that if Warner Brothers had some confidence, could have built for a great Justice League introductory movie and introduced 3 other characters. The Atom, you could have introduced Green Lantern, and you could have introduced the Martian Manhunter in a Justice League 2. But because Warner Brothers didn't have any confidence, they shelved this version of the film after the negative reviews of Batman v Superman. But I believe that was a mistake, because if you're going to go in with something and you're going to spend this kind of money, you have to have confidence. And this is one of the big problems with Warner Brothers as related to its superhero films, is they just don't have a lot of confidence. And this is what undermined a lot of DC's success, is they don't really have confidence or faith in their creators, and they don't have faith in their characters. That's one of the big problems at Warner Brothers that winds up tripping over their feet. They go out here and they'll hire a guy like Zack Snyder, not really believing in his ability, and then when he makes a couple of films that are not really right, they don't give him any guidance or support. I mean, Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, they started out on this dark and angry tone, and if Zack had gotten a little guidance and let him know, look, DC Comics characters are paragons of hope, they represent things that are bright, and that the DC world is not a dark and gritty place. Everybody isn't Batman. Maybe we could have possibly gotten a halfway decent series of films, but because DC and Warner Brothers, they don't have much confidence in their material, what they do is they produce half-done films, and then when the films struggle, they want to go out here and just want to give up. And that's one of the big problems with DC and their whole superhero movie universe of the DC Extended Universe. They don't really believe in themselves, and that's what makes it hard to believe in their characters. And what's really sad is this Justice League movie, it could have been that Cecil B. DeMille classic like The Ten Commandments, had they had a little bit more confidence. Had they had a little bit more confidence, they could have made a classic that could have taken Marvel's MCU and given them a run for their money. Had they gone out here and made that movie with Darkseid as the lead villain, had they gone out here and shown things like your Martian Manhunter, in addition to Cyborg getting lots of rich character development, had they gone out here and really put in the effort into this film, they could have made a classic. But when I look at the way your Warner Brothers approach things with their insecurities and their fears, they wound up tripping over their feet. So what they wanted to do after they released the initial Joss Whedon version, and that underperformed, they're coming out with this new version, and this is again a sad trend, because it's showing, oh, I made a film and I made a mistake, and now I'm going to try to fix that mistake. But you don't have to fix a mistake when you have confidence, because a person who has confidence understands you only have one chance to make a first impression, and you go out here and you bring your best in that initial presentation. if you don't come out here with confidence, you're not going to be able to compete. And that's one of the big problems Warner Brothers has, is they came out here without confidence, and that's why they were not able to compete. They had everything here to make, again, a future classic, but because they wound up being insecure, we get this do-over version of Justice League, which is just decent and does a great job. But they could have, again, come out from the jump with this film with Darkseid and probably made a classic that could have taken DC to the next level. Your Justice League, as I see it, is a big, grand, epic, and good movie, and it's far better than the original Joss Whedon version, but it's not on that level of classic movies like Batman '89, or even movies like the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, this is a really solid, well done movie, but it's just a little short of a classic due to several story issues and technical issues. It's a great comic book movie. It is one of the better movies of the Snyderverse, and it showed so much potential, but that potential was hampered by a lot of insecure people. And this is one of the big problems I see with Hollywood, is there's a lot of insecurity as related to things, but if you just had a little confidence, you could make something truly great. And that's something I've learned a long time ago, and when I was out here first writing books. You have to believe in your story, and that's what I saw was a problem with this movie, is people in the back at Warner Brothers didn't believe in this story, and that's what prevented us from seeing what could have been one of Zack Snyder's best films. Now, if you want to see me make more reviews like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my books featuring SJS Direct characters like Isis, John Haynes, and E-Steam, and Matilda Crowley, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and ebook, The Man Who Rules the World. John Haynes must bring together men and gods to overcome a threat that seeks to destroy the planet. The Man Who Rules the World. Now available in paperback and e-readers everywhere.